Hi everyone, welcome back to the Wonder of Anime YouTube channel. My name is Lisa, and today I'm going to be doing a review of an anime that I watched recently. And if you're not following me on social media, first of all, just stop everything that you're doing and go ahead and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, I recently updated my username, so it is at the Wonder of Anime. And on Twitter now, it's just been the same, which is at the Wonder of Ivy. I say to follow me on social media, especially Twitter, because while I'm not always making anime content, I am always talking about anime, especially on my Twitter. And that's where I live tweet. That's where I'm crying about anime all the time. And one thing, the reason that I bring up my social media is that those who have been following me have noticed that I've kind of descended into a new genre that is completely new for me, something that I never would have saw for myself, and that is sports anime. I guess this started, maybe seriously started a couple months ago when I saw Yuri on Ice. Now, I did not see Yuri on Ice because of the sport itself. I saw it because it's like one of the top BL anime. And I'm not here to argue about with y'all if it's BL or not. It's definitely BL, and I love it so much. But after watching Yuri on Ice, I realized that I definitely appreciated the competition, the high stakes of it all, more than I thought I would. And after that, I've given Haikyuu a chance, which I am utterly obsessed with. I'm not even done with the first season, and I've declared my love and obsession for Haikyuu. I think it is just so wholesome. It brings me such joy, and I'm enjoying it a lot more than I ever thought that I would. But recently, the anime that I'm going to talk about today is one that I knew about, but I never thought, I put it on my watch list a year or two ago, and then I never kind of thought about it again until recently. And that anime is Run with the Wind. A couple months ago or last year, I used to write for this website, CBR, that does listicles about anime. And I remember I wrote an article about anime that isn't centered in high school, anime that was focused in college or the workplace. And Run with the Wind is one of the more popular anime that definitely comes up when you're looking into college themed anime. And I saw the synopsis. I thought it was kind of cute, and I put it on my watch list then, just wrote my little article and forgot about it. But this, maybe 2 weekends ago or during the week, I was on Twitter, as one does, and I saw that somebody had tweeted specifically a scene from Run with the Wind, and I thought it looked really good. It was a little gif of the scene. But then in the thread, people were just talking about how much they love this anime. And one thing that I saw a conversation in the thread was whether or not Run with the Wind was a BL. And immediately, y'all know I'm in my Fujoshi bag right now. So I was like, is it? Let's find out. And I added it to, I was like, all right, I was already on my watch list. I added it to my I need to watch this right now list. And I have watched it. I am obsessed. I binged it, I think, in 3 or 4 days. Cried almost every single episode. And we're going to get into it. And by the end of this video, we are going to answer, is it a BL? The answer is who knows. And I'm just, spoiler alert, that's the answer. But I'm going to give you my thoughts, and not just about that, but the entire anime itself. Run with the Wind was a fall 2018 23 episode anime, and it's actually based on a novel by Shion Miura. It was also adapted into a manga in 2007, and it has 6 volumes. Then it was adapted into the anime in 2018. Run with the Wind, I want to say it's a cult classic, kind of, but not really. But it's one of those anime that you either have to be into sports anime or slice of life anime to kind of get on it. I know some people who watched it as it was releasing, but usually anybody that I know that has mentioned that they watched this anime just speaks of it so highly. You can Google this anime and you'll see subreddits or tweets or just reviews of people speaking very well about this anime because it is just that good. Run with the Wind, it follows the journey of Kagaru, who he is a former high school track star One day, first episode, he is running away from a convenience store that he has just robbed because he was hungry and he didn't have any money because he gambled it all away. And as he is running away from the convenience store person who's working, Haji, who is leaving a bathhouse, sees him and is like, whoa, this guy's running really fast. He gets on his bike and chases him down and asks him, do you like running? And that is the start of everything. Haji ends up inviting Kakeru over to Haji springs on them that now that they're at this house, this actually is a track and field house for the university that they're attending. So they are all now members of the track and field club. They are going to be running in the big running event, which is the Hakone Ekiden. This is a real life, I was excited to learn this. This actually is a real life relay event that takes place in Japan. And with that, it is a round trip like relay race between Tokyo and Hakone, and it takes place January 2nd and 3rd. All these people compete. You gotta first qualify for the qualifier, then if you like get good at the qualifier, you can compete in this. And the anime definitely dives through the history of that. Like I said, I'm not a sports person, and this anime really surprised me, and there were some main themes that really gripped me and just had me like, I could see the hype. I could see why people love it. I could see why years later people still talk highly about this anime and why it is, you know, as important and so highly regarded as it is. As I mentioned, Run with the Wind is not just the story of Kakeru and Haji, who although are the main characters, it's also the other 8 members of the track and field club and all of their stories. And while not, you know, it's not going to focus on their stories in depth all the time, this anime does a really great job of focusing on why people are running. Because in the beginning, with Haji announces this idea, all of the members are like, you're out of your damn mind. We are not running. We're not going to start practicing for this event that people trained years, their whole lives for. Many of them had 0 running experience, or they didn't run before, or they ran in high school. And it was just like this really mishbag of the most different characters who all just happen to be roommates and them making it to this event. With so many characters, there are definitely big themes that I noticed that were important to me while I was watching that. And one of these themes is finding your why. As I said, all of these characters in this story are coming from completely different backgrounds. And one of the answers that Haji himself is trying to answer is about running. And, you know, why does he run? Why does he like running? What is running? And within him trying to find that answer, everyone else in the house is also trying to find, like, okay, why am I going along with this? What is my purpose with this activity? But also as well as their own personal lives. And I believe that this anime just does such a wonderful job of calculating how both of those pieces kind of intersect. And it is about running, but it also isn't just about running. And if you know me personally, you know I am somebody that definitely is of the belief that every single aspect of our lives are intertwined. You know, we often think of like career and school and family life and passions all like in these separate little bubbles, when actually they all intersect and kind of flow into each other. And I really related to Run with the Wind because it is about running, but it isn't just about running. And it's this one activity that brings everyone together, but kind of is shaping their lives in different ways and their future moving forward. Like I mentioned, the biggest whys when it comes to this story is with Kakeru and Haji and their whys. Haji is somebody who used to run in high school and loved running, but due to an injury had to quit running. We learn later on in the series that his dad was actually the coach of his track team in high school, and he was, you know, on the path to going to one of the more prestigious universities in Tokyo when it comes to running. Due to his injury, he dropped out, and ever since then, you know, he spent all these years like healing himself and recuperating from the injury and wants to accomplish this goal of the Hakone. And how he does that. Kakeru, on the other side, was a high school prodigy, and the coach and the relationship of the team that he had in high school, that completely tainted his relationship with running. And as their two lives cross paths, they're kind of working together but working separately in what are their whys for running. Another theme with Run with the Wind is challenging yourself. As I mentioned, these characters in the house, a lot of them did not run completely. They're going along for this with Haji, and like I mentioned, they're all finding their personal reasons, but many of them, as the journey goes on, they do kind of start pushing themselves. Some of them are pushing themselves kind of to get on Kakeru's level, or they see Kakeru and they are like inspired by him, but they're really pushing themselves on this journey, and they start enjoying that challenge. One of the biggest themes, in my opinion, and my favorite out of every theme that I personally picked up from the series, is the theme of redemption. I mentioned that Kakeru had this backstory with his high school and him being the track star, that kind of everything was weighed on him, and as a result he had a very strange relationship with his teammates. And then the thing happens with his coach, and then everybody kind of turns on him, and they feel like he's the reason that they missed out on all this opportunity and making it to the big championships and all that. And Kakeru definitely has been carrying that with him this entire time. As he and the rest of the guys start practicing, first of all, he is super like, I don't want to do anything with this. You guys are not prepared. This is not serious. We're not going to make it into the Hakone. Like, y'all crazy. But as he's kind of going on and he is getting more serious about it, he finally feels like he's on board with it. Like, he just kept doing it. He definitely feels a lot of guilt with what happened before and doesn't really allow himself to be a team with everyone, even though they're all supposed to be working together. And I feel like he is going through his own personal redemption journey, just feeling like he deserves to be a part of a team again, that people can rely on him, and that he can rely on others. Haji, on the other side, he's also redeeming himself for what he deems personally to be a failure after his injury, and he is working so hard to redeem it to himself, but I feel like also his father as well, and just kind of making up for that time between high school and now university where he doesn't run anymore, and now he started running again. Finally, the biggest theme to me that everybody loves, it's the reason why this show is as successful as it is and why this story touches so many people's hearts, is the theme of the bonds and the relationships that people have together. There were some specific relationships that obviously stood out to me. I'm going to leave the Kakeru and Haji's relationship to its own part in this video, but the two that I definitely wanted to focus on mainly was Haji and Fujioka, as well as Prince and Kakeru. Prince, I'm just gonna say this now, Prince was definitely my favorite character in this entire series. Prince is the character who's obsessed with manga. He's in the manga club in the university. He's just a bookworm, and he is an otaku through and through. He is out of shape. He doesn't necessarily know why he's participating in this running thing, aside from just, having to pack up his stuff. He doesn't want to leave the house. But he really starts transforming in this. And a big reason for his transformation is Kakeru. And at first, Prince is doing so bad that Kakeru tells him, like, if you don't improve your numbers, like, we're cutting you from this team. Kakeru was so out of line, but that really hurt Prince and actually made Prince want to prove Kakeru wrong. And they start working together and training together. In their relationship, the fact that, Kakeru starts kind of paying attention to Prince and realizing, okay, Prince, you can improve your posture. How are we going to do that? Oh, we're going to pretend that you're reading manga. Like, how are we going to improve your numbers? And Kakeru pays attention to Prince's weaknesses, and as a result they start making progress together. And he also kind of realizes that he has to meet Prince where Prince is at. So he starts hanging out with him and reading manga and seeing what really is a motivator for Prince. I love this relationship because it started out so strained, but at the end, I think that they both had such a positive influence on each other, and I don't think Kakeru would have made it with the team, would have really started his changing and his redemption, his forgiving himself for everything that happened, if it was not for that relationship with Prince. The other relationship that I really enjoyed is the Fujioka and Haji relationship. So Fujioka is number one star, the ace of his team. Everybody loves him. He's been training for years, beating records all the time. And a character like that, you're automatically assuming they're going to be stuck up. They're going to be the protagonist. They're going to be like the what's wrong about the series. When in reality, he's nothing like that. He is so nice. He is so serious, but you can tell that he's just somebody who takes care of himself at the same time as looking out for others. And we learned in the series that him and Haji were teammates in high school. And as Kakeru is, being around him due to these track meets and stuff, he sees that, Fujioka takes Haji super seriously. And he kind of tells him like, Haji's going to do this and he's going to get this done. And that starts changing Kakeru's mind about the whole team and the whole relay event, race and everything. That in itself was just like, wow, like him speaking so highly of Haji, having so much love and respect for him, and how that starts transforming Kakeru's mindset. And then we learn that, they were friends in high school, they were teammates, and Fujioka really wanted to be at that university level with Haji, but due to Haji's injury, he couldn't. So that backstory in itself, I just love that their relationship, because even though Haji wasn't running anymore, he's not making these numbers, he's not at this level that they thought that both of them would be. Fujioka speaks with him with the utmost respect, completely believes in him, and trusts that Haji is going to accomplish his goals. And that to me is just awesome, because one, if it wasn't for that, I don't believe Kakeru would have taken it as seriously. But two, even though years had passed, even though they weren't on the same level anymore, like that did not matter to Fujioka. Fujioka was 100% behind Haji and believed that Haji was going to accomplish his goals. And furthermore, just that like when their relationship, when they were at meets together, specifically the meet with Prince, and this gets me emotional because I literally sobbed my eyes out. I think it's episode 14 when Prince beats, makes the record that it's going to qualify him to the qualifier. Just that in itself, and Fujioka saying like, wow, like that team is so lucky to have you. And then Haji starts, like you can see when Prince makes it that his like lip starts trembling because he's about to cry. Like, woo, that's probably one of my favorite parts of the anime. And just their relationships, as well as the relationships which all the members in the team, the twins, Nico, and just everybody else, Yuri, all those relationships are just so important. And even though they don't get the most shine, they're still smaller moments that the anime does to highlight those relationships that completely make this anime specifically stand out, and just why it's so highly regarded as it is. The last relationship, and the part where it's its own section anymore, and it's answering the question, is this a BL, is the relationship between Haji and Kakeru. And it is just, like I said, it was the reason for me starting the show, just because the conversation surrounding it. And it is such a beautiful conversation. And I think regardless of where you stand on your beliefs with the show, or if you believe this is a BL, believe if it is not, we can all say that this is such a special relationship. And in writing my thoughts for this video and kind of just reflecting on the relationship with Kakeru and Haji, they were the perfect main characters to each other because they each had things to work out that kind of brought out the things for each other. So the first thing that I want to say, obviously as the newest member of the Fujoshi Club, is that while I love ships of any ships, straight ships, gay ships, yuri ships, all those ships, I'm a shipper. I love romance, and for me, it's just one of my favorite things about not just anime, manga, is just fiction in general. But I do believe and want to clarify that there are male friendships, and that not every male friendship needs to be shipped. Not every male friendship has undertones of yaoi or BL. Like, let's just get that out of the way, because that's kind of one of my hesitations to getting into the BL genre, because I felt like a lot of, and I still feel that a lot of people ship. I feel like you can ship who you want, but I also think that sometimes we not everything is a romantic ship, because that kind of undervalues the real male relationships that men can have relationships just as fulfilling as women can. And especially in media, we don't see those often. From the beginning, it's very clear that Haji and Kakeru are going to be significant in each other's lives, and the roles that they play with this entire running journey and the challenges that are coming in this series. From that beginning scene where, that's visited time and time again, Haji walks out, the moment he leaves the bathhouse and he sees Kakeru running, and that scene is revisited so many times in the anime. And my favorite part actually was the depiction of those two scenes, the difference between episode 1 and episode 2, and then how those scenes kind of intertwine and are constantly revisited throughout the anime, specifically any moment that Kakeru is running and pushing himself to another level. That is just significant. And then they have all of these conversations about running and just kind of, what is Haji's end goal with, the Hakone, and what does he hope to accomplish for himself, and him answering the question of what is running. And then Kakeru, on the other hand, kind of mending the relationship that he had with running to begin with, from his high school self to now his university self. And why are they doing this? What is running? Why is this so important to Haji? Like, what is Haji trying to prove? I think their relationship, when they argue, they don't always agree, and Haji is just so patient with him and really, really believes in Kakeru, and is kind of like, to Kakeru, like, you're the reason why I believe that this is possible, and like, you're pushing me, and Kakeru is being pushed by him. I think, and this is obviously the consensus towards the end, the last 2 episodes of the anime. So up until that point, like up until the last 2 episodes of the anime, they have this relationship, and it's such a deep relationship. I didn't necessarily at this point kind of see it romantically. I just thought it was such a beautiful relationship of them pushing each other and their journeys, and how you kind of, you get with someone and they come into your life and they change it for the better. And if it wasn't for Haji, Kakeru is never going to get to the point where he makes peace with what happened in high school and why he is changing and making those changes for the better. But then we get to the last 2 episodes, where this is arguably the part where people are like, all right, this definitely transcends friendship. And more so, Kakeru is running his portion of the relay race, and he then hands off the sash to Haji, who is going to finish that. And in that moment, Kakeru is having like all these, right before it's his turn to get the sash from one of the twins, he's having all like these reflections, and he's thinking back, flashbacks, all that kind of like, what, this is the end, this is what we're going to accomplish, what are we going to do? And in that moment, when he's leaving, he's with one of the twins, and he says to them, what, like, have you ever been in love? And he's like, isn't it such a beautiful feeling? Like, I'm in love now. But essentially, he's like, I'm in love. Like, I am in love. And he is, right before running, and he leaves in like such a good mood and such an air to him. And he knows now what his mission is, what he's going to accomplish in running his portion of the relay race. We have that moment where he's like, running is Haji, like running is Haji and Haji is running. And that's the moment for me personally where I definitely took it from this friendship relationship to actual romantic love, and just how I feel that like Haji, in himself, he sees running as Kakeru and what Kakeru is going to accomplish. And then the final moment for me was when Haji finally reaches the finish line, and Kakeru, although the rest of the team is there, Kakeru is the one who's waiting for him on the road right into that, and he runs like right into Kakeru's arms essentially. And then that solo moment happens, and then we see the rest of the team join them in. That, to me, that was where I was convinced that there was a romantic thing. Obviously, the anime ends, we have this time skip. Haji stays on as the coach of the, he graduates, he's the coach. Kakeru is still with the team. But that moment to me, and just how the series tied in the whole concept of running, that for me is what felt like confirmed for me personally that towards the end, it definitely transformed into a romantic relationship. However, that's just me projecting, making that up. I don't think so, because a lot of people have had these thoughts as well. But even without that aspect of it, I do think it is an amazing, wonderful relationship with not that included. But those tiny little things, I don't think that "are you in love" conversation that happened with the twin, if it wasn't alluding to that it would have been included in this part. And I think that specifically for me is what sold it to me. Also, having done research and, seeing what else people think about the series, I came to learn that the author of the series it calls herself a Fujoshi. She's written Fujoshi stuff. She's written a paper on being a Fujoshi. So she's definitely down with the movement. So I think that as well. Like I said from the beginning, that question was what led me to kind of give the series, to finally watch the series. And I fully believe, I don't think the main point of that, but I think that it did develop into a BL relationship, which I'm always down for. Overall, Run with the Wind is such a beautiful story, and definitely an anime I find myself that I'm going to revisit because I can't get enough. I have gone back and watched like Prince's scene. I have gone back and watched all the running scenes, and aside from motivating me on a life level to get my life together, I just really think, aside from running and it being a sports anime, just the main overall theme to me that you can have a hobby or an activity or something that is absolutely just going to change your life. And it is, I think sometimes we take things like that for granted, or if you specifically maybe don't have a hobby that you are doing that you may kind of like be like, whatever. But Run with the Wind is so inspiring, and it's such a beautiful story from start to end. Like, I wouldn't even say this team was like the underdogs. Like, they were not competing with other people. Like, there was no team. They just made this team from the ground up, which to me, I feel like an underground, like there was a team, but the team sucked. They just built this team, and everybody had their own goals and everybody had their own reasons, but they all came together essentially to make Haji's dream come true. And the fact that Haji realized like he's able to meet his goal, I was sobbing because I was rooting for Haji so much, and I wanted this for him. And he, everybody joined together for him, but he also changed everybody else's life. And I thought that's absolutely beautiful. This is the end of my Run with the Wind video. Like I said, I absolutely love this anime. I will find myself rewatching it just because it's just so impactful. And hopefully you saw this video, you watched it, because it's so many spoilers. But I would love to hear your thoughts about anything that I discussed. What was your favorite character? What was your favorite journey? Let me know in the comments. And if you have any other otaku, you know, sports anime. Like clearly I am watching Haikyuu, but if there's anything else you think that I would enjoy similarly along these lines, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. But I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.